Good afternoon. Powerful torrents of water are flooding homes, wiping out roads, and sweeping away cars in North Carolina. These cruel floodwaters are life-threatening and destructive. I'm here with an urgent travel warning. Stay off the roads in most parts of the state of North Carolina, especially south of US 64 and east of US 73-74. Don't make yourself someone who needs to be rescued. We told you this morning that roads are getting dangerous and worse with every passing minute. That has come true with a vengeance over the last few hours. When a storm is bad enough to shut down interstate highways, you know other roads may be even in worse shape. All roads in the state right now are at risk of floods. Roads you think may be safe can be washed away in a matter of minutes. If you must drive, don't drive on flooded roads. Just a few inches of water can sweep your car away. Be alert for sudden flooding, and be prepared to get to higher ground quickly. Pay close attention to flash flood warnings and follow local evacuation orders. If you have evacuated from the coast to a safe place, don't go back now. Even when the evacuation orders are lifted on the coast, it isn't safe right now for you to get there. Plus, you'll be in the way of rescue and recovery efforts that are going on there. As rivers keep rising and rain keeps falling, the flooding will spread. More and more inland counties are issuing mandatory evacuations to get people to safety quickly. I now want to recognize the Secretary of Transportation, Jim Trogdon, who will give us an update on road conditions and predictions a few hours and days down the road. Jim.
Thank you, Governor. Road conditions across nearly all of our state will be rapidly deteriorating in the coming days. As Hurricane Florence continues to pound North Carolina, flooding will increase, moving from east to west, according to predictions. Almost all North Carolina will be subject to flooding, and especially those areas, as the governor just highlighted, those are subject now as we speak. Beginning earlier this morning, flash floods began closing major routes, several sections of I-40, I-95, US 70, US 1, US 501, and within hours from our 11 a.m. press conference to 1 p.m., the number of North Carolina primary roads that were impacted by flash flooding increased from 60 to 100. I think you can see on this slide, the blue covers the areas that have already been reported, blue events. We anticipate those will be moving rapidly closer towards Charlotte in the next 12 to 24 hours. It has been increasingly difficult to find bypass routes for interstate traffic moving through North Carolina. Therefore, we've been in coordination with the state of Virginia and Virginia DOT, South Carolina, Tennessee, Georgia, and our Federal Highway Administration. So we've announced that if traveling I-95 and the other north-south through North Carolina, we're asking those travelers to use Virginia's I-64 west to I-81, to I-75 in Tennessee, to I-16 into Georgia. That would allow them access into the western part of South Carolina as well as into Georgia and around North Carolina. And if they're coming from south to north, coordinate with South Carolina, but I'm sure they'll be doing the same kind of process. NCDOT is ensuring that we're delivering the critical assistance that we need to our first responders, State Highway Patrol, Emergency Management, the National Guard, the U.S. Department of Defense, and our local law enforcement. We will ensure we can help move those goods and services needed, but we have to make sure we minimize the impact of the limited mobility that we are seeing and will see in the future. We're also asking our citizens to avoid south of US 64, as the governor said, and east of I-73-74. I've been working with the Department of Transportation for 27 years. Every storm from Fran up until Matthew, I have never seen flash flooding like this occur in our state, and it's tremendously impacting our ability to help move travel on our interstates and U.S. routes because of the rapidity and fluidness and dynamics of how fast these events are occurring and how dynamic they are. So my concern in making this recommendation, my concern was the one thing that we must do is provide safe services for people that are moving through our state. And the one thing I want to prevent is thousands of people stranded on our interstates or U.S. routes with flooding events on each side, putting more burden on our first responders to be extracting thousands of people that use our roadways daily. We want to make sure we avoid that. That's why we're doing and proposing and executing what I just stated. Our crews are making assessments now, clearing debris where they can. We're going to continue to do that through the coming days. All the events that we're seeing now are a combination of either storm surge in those eastern counties or flash flooding throughout the Piedmont. We believe that will continue to increase. We want to make sure we're responding as rapidly as possible and ensuring the safety of our citizens. So we are attempting to bypass as much traffic out of North Carolina as possible, and then asking our citizens in those critical regions to stay in place. Another day, flash flooding will reside in these areas, and it will start moving farther west, and we'll ask them to do the same thing probably tomorrow. I'll answer any questions you may have in the end, but thank you for the opportunity to help provide safe travel throughout our state.
Thank you, Secretary Trogdon. We'll now hear from Colonel Glenn McNeil, the commander of the North Carolina Highway Patrol.
Thank you, Governor. Good afternoon. As the storm continues to move west, floodwaters continue to affect primary and secondary roads in many of our portions of our state. I cannot stress this enough. If you do not have to drive, then please do not. Residents who choose to drive in the affected areas are placing themselves needlessly in danger along with our emergency responders. If you have evacuated and you found a safe location, please stay there. Troopers have been deployed to the eastern and southern portions of our state to assist with local first responders in life-saving efforts. Our members, along with utility companies, Department of Transportation personnel, local law enforcement, must be allowed to render aid as needed without interruption by unnecessary travel. As floodwaters continue to rise, residents are encouraged, do not become complacent. As previously noted by the Governor and Secretary Trogdon, these major travel corridors on I-95 South, I-40, the eastern portion of our state, US 70 are currently closed due to floodwaters. Out-of-state motorists should avoid traveling through North Carolina, as these road closures are expected to remain in place throughout the weekend. Several detours and road closures that are in place can be found by visiting drivenc.gov before you travel. Once again, please stay off the affected roadways until we have the opportunity to ensure that safe travel has restored. Thank you.
Thank you, Colonel. We remain grateful for our first responders who are out there right now saving lives, protecting lives in this killer storm. Rescuers are reaching flooded areas by boat and by air, taking hundreds of people to safety. Now we'll hear from Mike Sprayberry, our Director of Emergency Management.
Thank you, Governor. Good afternoon, everyone. The State Emergency Operations Center continues to remain activated at a level 1, 24 hours a day with the complete state emergency response team. We are currently engaged in large-scale search and rescue operations in our coastal counties, and our logistics teams are pushing out commodities as requested. As expected, we are continuing to experience widespread flooding. Let me assure you, this flooding is only going to get worse. Current areas of concern for major riverine flooding include Pollexville, Neuse River near Goldsboro, Pungo River at Bellhaven, Lumber River at Lumberton, Cape Fear River near Kelly, Contentnia Creek at Hookerton, Neuse River at Kinston, Northeast Cape Fear River at Chinkapin, Neuse River near Goldsboro, Northeast Cape Fear River near Burgall, Rocky River near Norwood, South Fork Catawba River at Lowell, Yadkin River at Elkin, Yadkin River at Yadkin College. You'll note that these locations are in the eastern, central, and western portions of our state. Also, please keep in mind that these locations are not all inclusive for potential flooding. We urge all of our residents to log in to our Flood Inundation Mapping and Alert Network, known as FIMAN, at fiman.nc.gov. That's FIMAN.nc.gov to see what roads and structures will be affected by flooding. Users can sign up to be alerted by text or email when rivers begin to rise. As always, make sure that you are following the guidance of your local officials and that you're staying tuned to local media to ensure that you have situational awareness. Thank you so much for your support of the State Emergency Response Team of North Carolina. Thank you, sir.
Mike, thank you, and thank you to Eric Hooks, our Secretary of Department of Public Safety, who is here and helping to run this effort as well. We're working closely with our federal partners, and we have Albie Lewis with FEMA here to give us an update. Albie.
Thank you, Governor. Good afternoon, everyone. We've been here from the start, integrated with the North Carolina Emergency Management Office. We're doing that with 2 incident management teams that are here, working such things as logistics, planning, and operations. Furthermore, to help communication backstop, we have 2 mobile communication operations vehicles staged to Fort Bragg and 1 staged right out back here. We also have been using 15 urban search and rescue teams that have already been pushed down to Mike and his team. We pre-positioned a significant number of ambulances in case we need those. We have 4 health and medical task forces that are currently supporting the sheltering operations, with 2 disaster medical assistance teams, which are assigned on the western part of the state should we need to bring them in. We are also pre-staging a significant amount of additional assets so that as we push forward assets to Mike and his team, we have a short distance to reach back to grab those other assets. Thank you.
Our primary focus right now is the safety and security of North Carolinians, and we ask everyone to join us so that we can be successful in this effort. I'll take your questions and questions for any of the people here on the platform.
Thank you. I just want to be clear, you are literally asking out-of-state travelers to bypass the state of North Carolina. How long do you think that situation will continue?
Mr. Secretary.
Yes, so we're asking those that would be traveling through North Carolina to avoid North Carolina. Because this is the flash flooding, we could see this for several days. However, as Director Sprayberry said, we anticipate that the flash flooding impacts, although not in the same locations, may be replaced by the riverine flooding, which could take up to a week. So right now, this is what we need to do today just to make sure motorists are safe in North Carolina. However, we may need to take additional actions moving forward in different locations with different actions. And I will not know that until we see what the impacts are to the riverine flooding.
Gary Robertson with AP. I wonder if Jim could come up again. And regarding Regarding I-95, we know that there's like a 16-mile stretch that's closed and probably will be until maybe Monday. Are there any other stretches of I-95 that also are closed?
We not closed at this time, but we anticipate soon would be the same stretch that was impacted during Matthew near Lumberton at the Lumber River. Because of the Lumber River flood stages that are projected to be greater than Matthew, we anticipate that section will be as well. So those are ones that we know. We also believe there may be some in or around Fayetteville that may or may not be impacted with the flooding in the coming days.
Hi, Michael Hyland from CBS 17. I noticed some of the colleges and universities have started to make decisions about whether to resume classes on Monday. Given that you're telling people to still stay off the roads and that some of their students and faculty might have left, are you making any recommendations to the colleges and universities about whether to encourage their students to come back?
I think that would be up to the colleges and universities, but my recommendation would be if they're in that band of US 64 South, I-73, now would not be asking their students to, I would not recommend them asking their students to come back. And then as this storm continues its track over Charlotte and into the western part of our state, I would anticipate we'll see the same types of challenges in those locations by Monday and Tuesday. So the universities will do what they believe is best, but my recommendation is if they're in that area now, I would not be asking them to travel back. And if they're in the area of the western part of the state, they may be in the same situation by Monday.
Other questions? Yes, Gary.
Governor, do you have an update at all about number of confirmed fatalities?
No update since the last briefing. Okay, we'll let you know when the next one is. Thank you very much.